follow the rules so that we can all get through this and we can all move forward. So I want to, as I said, thank our partners who are here, and I want to first turn it over to our Police Chief, Eric Hawkins, to talk about what people can expect with respect to enforcement. Chief?
All right, thank you, Mayor. And as the Mayor said, this is about safety first. What we saw here the other night was something that endangered the entire community. And what we're asking for is for people in here and any place else in this community to simply adhere to the requirements of the governor's executive order. If we see violations, our position with this is education and awareness first and voluntary compliance, and for the most part we've been getting that. Now, we didn't get any calls for service for that gathering here, but I'm asking for members of the community, if they see gatherings that are clearly in violation of the executive order, to give the police department a call. Our officers will be out, they will approach, they will seek to obtain voluntary compliance. If we don't get voluntary compliance, then there are enforcement mechanisms that are available that we can resort to. We don't want to get to that. In this period of time where we're talking police-community relations and we're talking about how our officers are policing our communities, it is in everybody's best interest to have voluntary compliance for these sorts of gatherings. And if we can get that, it's safer for the community, it's safer for the people who are here, it's safer for all officers. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Our universities are critically important to the city of Albany. They are a huge economic engine, and we all know that when our universities shut down in March because of COVID, there was an immediate and direct impact on our economy, even among businesses that were allowed to stay open. And so it's really important that we are able to have students come back to our community, and we want them to do it in a safe way. And we have tremendous partners at all of our institutions who want the same thing for their students. So I'd like to ask Dr. Michael Christakis, who is the Vice President for Student Affairs at the University of Albany, to say a few words.
Thank you, Mayor. As you know, UAlbany has proudly been part of Midtown for more than a century, and we're grateful to be able to continue to work closely with the city and its neighborhood associations. The Mayor is absolutely right. We have all worked so hard and come so far in the battle against this virus. We cannot allow ourselves to backslide now. It's so important that so many campuses are represented here today, because getting this right will require the cooperation of all of the region's colleges and universities. Like so many of us, our students have been through a lot these last 5 months. And as President Rodriguez has often said, getting through this together will require flexibility and empathy. But there are some things on which we cannot be flexible. So let me be clear. We will not tolerate off-campus behavior that needlessly endangers the health and safety of others, period. We will continue to make our expectations clear to students as they return to Albany for the protection of themselves, their fellow students, and neighbors. They must adhere to the same mask and social distancing requirements that are in force on campus. There is no margin for error here. Students should avoid all large gatherings regardless of size. We know the vast majority of our community understand the weight of this collective responsibility to look out for each other. The few who don't can and will face serious consequences under our code of conduct. The simple truth is this: we know our students long for a return to normal campus life. We do too. But that will never be possible if we allow ourselves to get careless. Our campuses simply will not be able to reopen and remain open through the fall. That is the choice we face. My message to returning students is to be leaders. Set the example that you would want the person living next to your siblings, your parents, and your grandparents to follow. I know it's possible. I watched how the UAlbany community rose to the occasion last spring. I witnessed so many acts of generosity and selflessness. This time, we have the benefit of a head start and a deeper knowledge about how this virus spreads. We can do this, but we can only do it together. And we need to do this for ourselves, for our campus, and for the health and well-being of the entire Albany community.
Thank you so much. And I know how hard you and all of the other institutions have worked to create plans to return your students in a safe manner. And I know that firsthand with our next speaker, Alicia Willette, who's the president and dean of Albany Law School. I have the privilege of sitting on the board of trustees at Albany Law School, and I know that the dean and her staff has worked tirelessly and has collaborated with teachers, with staff, and with students to focus on a safe way to return this fall. And I know that none of those people who worked really hard want to see that undone. And I'd like to ask Alicia to say a few words.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor, and good afternoon. I want to start by saying to our students and our young people, I get it. This is hard. We've asked a lot of you. We've asked you to take classes online, to stay home, to miss our celebrations, to wear masks. No one likes it. None of this is easy. We miss our friends. We miss being together. But here's the thing. For us to get back together in the long run, for all of us to enjoy parties and celebrations, for Albany Law School and all the other great colleges and universities in the Capital Region to welcome back our students to campus, we have to do this together. We can't do this unless we all do this, and we have to be safe. It may be hard, but it's not complicated. To be together, we have to stay physically distant, we need to limit the size of our gatherings, and we need to wear masks. There's a saying at law, your liberty to swing your arm ends at my nose. That is, you're free to swing your arm, but you can't punch me in the face. Our rights end when we put other people in harm's way, and masks and physical distance protect others. Masks and physical distance protect your grandmothers, your friends, your parents, your neighbors, and yes, your professors. We have to protect one another. And I know we can do it. We're up to the challenge. At Albany Law School, our students are all signing a shared responsibility pledge to take responsibility for the safety of our community. And we will live up to that pledge. This is a great community where we care about one another. We can all call upon each other to help and to protect one another. And right now that means we need to stay physically distant, we need to wear masks, and we need to remind each other to protect the most vulnerable. We're in this together, and we can get through this together. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And as I said, we're joined also by Hudson Valley Community College, because we know so many of our students who are living in Albany are also attending Hudson Valley, so we want to thank them for their partnership. And I'd also like to ask Lisa Haley Thompson, who's the Chief of Staff at the College of St. Rose, right here in this neighborhood, to also come up and say a few words.
Good afternoon, everyone, on this extraordinarily hot day in Albany. As some of you know, the College of St. Rose was founded in 1920, literally 100 years ago this year, right here in this neighborhood on a house on Madison Avenue. 100 years ago, a group of incredibly courageous women religious saw a need for a college right here in this neighborhood. We need to ensure that their dream continues this fall so that all of us can come back to our campus. And the way we do that is by shared responsibility. We surveyed our students, over 1,000 of them responded, and 80% of them said they want to come home. They want to come home back here to Albany. We believe that problems shared grow smaller, that courage is contagious, that each of us can make a difference, and that this crisis is an opportunity for us to pull together and showcase our resilience. All of these beliefs were reinforced over this past spring, where my colleagues said that all of our students showed incredible resilience. We faced COVID-19, adapted to change, made a difference in the lives of our loved ones lost. Our family and friends became ill, and we all needed help. But we helped each other, and we need to continue to do that. We are asking our students, demanding of our students, requiring of all of us that they need and we need together to practice all of the guidelines we now know so well. Wear a mask. Practice social distancing guidelines. That means 6 feet apart all the time, every time. No gatherings of more than 49 people, as I say, because there's always one extra. Our college was founded by women who 600 years ago were not cloistered, and they went out to serve their community, what they called serving the dear neighbor. Today we have to serve our neighbors, because that is how we are all going to thrive and survive. This plan and our return plan begins with all of our health and safety, and our success relies heavily on all of us being willing to take these important steps personally to protect each other. And we can do this, so we can all come home. Thank you so much.
Thank you. You'll notice that we have several neighborhood representatives here. Our Pine Hills neighborhood is home not only to many off-campus students, but to many families and to people from all walks of life. And it's a true neighborhood. And we want to ensure that people are mindful of that as they come into this community. And here to speak more about that is our Common Council member who represents this area, Owusu Anani.
Thank you, Mayor. As was mentioned, my name is Owusu Anani. I'm the councilman representing the Pine Hills neighborhood. This is a rich, diverse neighborhood. We have college students, we have long-term residents, we have old, we have young, we have immigrants, we have renters, and we have homeowners. The last few weeks we have seen here in our neighborhood, we've entered into phase 4. And we have also entered into a degree of a little bit of normalcy, as the rates of infections and hospitalization have declined and so far remain relatively low. But this good news does not mean that we should be complacent. Even though the situation has stabilized, the virus is still around, and we all need to do our part and remain vigilant. That means no large gatherings, like the mayor mentioned, in one location. On 4th of July, we saw here several